chicken farm and seafood market.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo, and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim flam sauce with the awesome fave, with shafafa on the side.
South Florida restaurant owner really just kind of losing it when the dirty dining cameras show up at his place.
He was not happy. Esposito's New York coal-fired pizza was the only place ordered shut by inspectors in our area last week. And local 10 investigator Jeff Weinseir, well, let's just say he got an earful.
You guys are snakes.
We're snakes because you have roaches? He is Joseph Lay, owner of Esposito's New York coal-fired pizza. It's on University Drive south of 595 in Davie, and we are simply here to ask why his restaurant had a roach issue serious enough that a state inspector ordered the place shut.
Like your mother. Your mother has roaches.
My mother has roaches? My mother? I mean, is that, what are you, 6 years old?
Yes. It is a Thursday on the Lunchbox. It is another beautiful day in paradise, and we are happy to have Defo back for what promises, hopefully, to be an interesting show. The sound clip that you heard to open the show was of a recent, a dirty dining segment on Channel 10. Jeff Weinseir has become known and maybe not so beloved in the restaurant industry for these segments, but some in the public appreciate it. He spotlights restaurants that have been shut down by state health inspectors. But in the case of Joe Lay, who owns Esposito's New York coal-fired pizza in Davie, he was on the receiving end of both a health inspector shutdown, and then 2 days later a visit from Jeff Weinseir with camera crew in tow. And he didn't react in the best possible way. He posted an apology on the Let's Eat South Florida group a couple of days ago that caused quite a reaction. I think more than 500 or 600 comments. Defo, you were away for all of this. But
I did read that, though. I did read the thing. I had it on my phone, and, I found it extremely interesting. And the man made a very compelling argument that perhaps this was a reaction that was unnecessary. I would say this. I mean, I don't know what the conditions are. I know Jeff is scheduled to join us here on the show, which is great, and so is Joe, the owner. And when Lubie told me about that this morning, I thought, wow, that's fantastic, because it is a very interesting development. The only guy that restaurant owners in some cases want to see less than you, Mike Mayo, is Jeff Weinseir, because it's kind of like when you see Mike Wallace show up at transmission shops in New York and put the hand over the camera. It's never good. At least you are well liked in some places, and your picture and articles hang on the wall because you've given many, many favorable reviews and are more than fair when you do it. But I don't know the parameters for Jeff's segment. It's not like I haven't enjoyed it, because obviously it's good to have somebody pointing out places that you wouldn't want to go to. But it seems like, unfortunately, I mean, if this was this guy's first violation, we know that can be very quirky. I mean, any place
it just doesn't seem,
can have a roach. I mean,
it doesn't seem, what's the word? Proportional. Like if it's a guy's first shutdown in almost 20 years of operating. First of all, to survive 20 years in this market, it means you're doing something right.
Right.
And
there he is. Oh, great.
Hey, we got Joe Lay, the owner of Esposito's coal-fired New York pizza. All right, got it probably jumbled up in Davie, I played that clip at the beginning, not to embarrass Joe, but also to show the Channel 10 side. You heard the setup, the intro from the anchors, the anchors on the set in the studio, and they're kind of snickering about it. And this is a person's livelihood. This is people,
not just his, but many people depend on him,
employees and things like that. And that's why I don't like that. I have many feelings about this because, as a former food writer, food critic, I would have to look up inspection reports, and then I would make decisions of, like, is a place still worthy being reviewed if it got shut down maybe like 3 years ago? What's fair, what's not fair, what should be mentioned in a piece, what maybe should be glided over. But in this case, obviously, Joe was the man who had the bullseye on him that day, and we're going to talk with Jeff later in the show about how he makes decisions of, is something fair, if it's the first time offense, or if it's an only place that got shut down in the whole county that week, does then that person have to be spotlighted? We'll find out more from Jeff later on in the show. But meanwhile, I want to welcome to the Lunchbox, and I had a very lovely lunch the other day, and I just want to thank him for the hospitality. I paid for all my food because that's how I roll.
Mr. Comp, you paid for the
say that's
food,
rare.
Joe. I mean, did he really offer money first, or did he, go to the old fake wallet move that he does? What happened there, Joe?
He paid
Welcome to
the
the show,
full
by
price.
the way.
He paid the full price. And thank
Okay.
you for having me on, guys.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
So, all right. First of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself, the background of the restaurant, and then just we'll get into the events leading up to that day, the shutdown itself, and then what happened when Jeff Weinseir and Channel 10's crew showed up. But how are you? And just talk a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how long you've been in business.
Good, thank you. I'm from Long Island, New York, and I decided in 2000 and I actually was 1997. I opened up my first pizzeria here in South Florida. It was in the Millennium Mall. Became a fluke because the owners couldn't operate. They didn't have enough money to operate the whole, the size of the mall. It was way too big for them. So from there, I went on to another place, and it was called the Grand Bazaar out in West Palm Beach, and that went under too. Wayne Heisinger actually bought the place, turned it into a Lexus dealer, went to court, and caught the whole nine. Yeah, it was like, and thank God he was nice enough, to be honest with you, because he said, hey, don't, forget about the attorney fees, the whole nine. So thank God. In any case, then I approached Esposito's. Esposito's was really like, it was a hole in the wall. It was very, it looked like it was making money because I could tell by the pallet size of the boxes that was in the hallway. So there's no way anybody would order a pallet full of pizza boxes. Make a long story short, I ended up purchasing the place. And then, at that point I had no money left because, I blew it in the Millennial, then in West Palm Beach, and now this is it. So I never told anybody, and I just kept it a secret, and I kept working it. Eventually I turned it into what you see today. So originally it was 1 bay, now it's 3 bays.
Oh, wow.
And it's gorgeous in there. And he has a full dinner menu, a veal chop on the bone with Parmesan. I mean, and when I first walked in, I was surprised because I remember it back in the old days. And I think it was operated by the same family that was behind the original Ray's Pizza in New York. I think you told me that the other day,
correct,
Joe.
Yes.
But it was more like just a basic strip mall pizza shop, just a counter where you go in, grab a slice. Now he's turned into, it was immaculate in there when I walked in. And what he says is that he always keeps the place immaculate, but and I would, I had no reservations about ordering and eating food there. I had no ill effects. He gave me a full tour of the kitchen. It looked spotless. Granted, he knew I was coming, but but I saw the measures he's taken. He sealed up some of the gaps where things and bugs could maybe crawl in. You thought that, Joe, maybe it came in on a food delivery, which also can happen in Florida. I mean, this is South Florida, and I don't want to make excuses for a restaurant or anyone out there that's gotten dinged, but it's South Florida. The bugs are going to win in the end. I stepped on one the other day when I got out of bed to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I just had my treatment last weekend. That's what happens. The treatment comes, the rain comes, the roaches start, they come in and then they die. So,
but
you
never
anyway,
know what's going to happen. Having said that, I myself, to be honest with you, I am a clean fanatic. I have a 2019 Ford F-250, and this is the reason why I'm going is because there's not a grain of sand in my carpet.
Wow.
Okay, so I am that fanatical. I get my truck is always clean. I'm clean. I brush my teeth 3-4 times a day. I take showers 3 or 4 times a day. If I go see my sister in Cocoa Beach for 1 day, I bring a week's worth of clothes. So the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because I treat my restaurant the same way. Sorry about that.
You're still here. Yeah.
Oh, we're good. We hear you.
So I treat the restaurant the same way. My own employees, okay, we have a power washer. Okay, they power wash that kitchen every night. On top of that, I have a cleaning crew. The cleaning crew comes in at 2:00 in the morning every night for years and years. And then basically that's it. So when Jeff walks in and shines his camera in the back of the restaurant, after I
Oh,
was
wait, so he never tried or
No one
attempted
reached
to
out to you
talk
ever.
to you first or come through the front door or make a phone call and ask for some sort of explanation and say, I'm going to come out. Are you willing to do an interview? None of that kind of stuff happened
no,
before?
no, and he absolutely not. And my biggest fear, to be honest with you, is because of my persona. That's what I just explained. My biggest fear was to be on a dirty diner, television.
Yep.
And that was like, when everybody's betting on the Super Bowl, I'm waking up thinking I saw a dirty stain underneath the woman's hairdryer in the bathroom, and that we got to clean that. That's my brain going all the time. It's always keeping everything clean as best I can, and for Jeff, never, he never ever approached me and said, hey, I understand you had a situation with the roaches or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Never came in. He snuck in through the back door. Okay.
Well, they didn't come in through the back. They were just shooting B-roll through the back alley. They still are on public property because Jeff, I know he's not going to trespass. They will shoot. You said you had an open door because there was a delivery, so they were able to shoot.
We just had a delivery. The door was open. He shows up with the cameras and he starts zooming in on my employees and zooming in into the kitchen. And I'm out in the front. I'm in the front of the house. And one of the employees says, there's somebody here with cameras.
What time of day is this? Is it the middle of lunch service or what?
I would say, yeah, it was in the middle of lunch service.
Do you know the time of day? 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
I would say 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
All right, a little bit after the lunch rush. Okay. But never tries to go through the front door or never tries to reach out and say, hey, we're here. No. Can you talk about it? Not never,
never.
Okay. And is that part of what set you off?
Yes. Well, what set me off is once he set me off because he said, I'm here to talk about, if I can remember correctly, I'm here to, I'm here to talk about, or I'm here for, tell me about your roaches in your kitchen.
That's what he said. Yep.
I think the question was, why do you have roaches in your kitchen?
Something
but I'm
about
not 100%.
Yeah, something like that. I never saw the video, and even till today, I never watched it.
Did you hear the opening clip?
Because we did. I don't know if you want to hear the clip.
No, that's all right. He says he doesn't want to watch it, but you do remember what you said, right?
Yes, I definitely do. I told him, he said something about the roaches. I said, your mother has roaches,
which it's
which he denied. I mean, which is interesting. Yeah.
I don't know Mrs. Weinseir. I don't even know if she's alive. We're going to talk to Jeff. I mean, do you feel bad about that? I mean, you
yeah, I do, and I want to apologize to her. And I happen to find out that she is a wonderful lady. So it's nothing to get nothing to do with his mom. It's just like a New York thing.
It's a New York thing. I know that. But
was this your first violation though? At any time
shut down for
20
bugs?
years?
Was it the first shutdown?
First time. Okay.
See,
that's what I would have an issue with.
And that was my big deploy with Jeff. I mean, if you call yourself an investigator, please investigate and look. And he is doing good for maybe, for certain restaurants. I wouldn't want to eat at if they were really filthy, but let's call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those. I'm happen to be a very clean guy. The situation happened and he could have came into the front door and said, look, I looked at your history, and saw you never had a violation, but I'm still going to roll the cameras and we got to do something. Okay. And we're coming upon an agreement and that's it. Man to man through the front door, not the back door.
So, all right, you reacted the way you did, and look, you say that you've never had any kind of bug issue or shutdown in almost 20 years. You've been there since 2004. The records that I've only gone back like 5 years that I could find online. I'm sure I could go, but what I've seen online for the last 5 years corroborates that you've had some issues which have required follow-up inspection, as have hundreds of restaurants. When the inspectors come in, they might find an expired certification. They might find that you have the raw chicken over the cooked pasta and you got to move around the shelves. These are the type of things that I would call, ordinary things that happen. But, some of your inspections in the last 3 years, you've had like 0 major violations, like maybe only 1 or 2 ticky-tack minor things. You look like you run a pretty clean shop. And from my eyeballs, when I came in there the other day, it looks like, a clean shop. So I can understand where it's this context where, a guy shows up after your first offense, and I'm sure you're already embarrassed enough, right? You had to shut down for a full day, right?
I'm thinking about it every day still right now. I can't believe I have this on my jacket. It's terrible. It really is.
Well, and they came in, you had already cleaned up, been reopened, and everything had been corrected, right? They came in not in the middle of it. They came in after you had established
That's a reopening. Yeah.
2020, right. It was, he showed up 48 hours later, 2 days later, he showed up after I was approved by the state, you know. And let me tell you something, getting approved by the state is not that easy. And I actually thought I was going to fail. And the reason why is, even though I've been in business for a very long time, since 1997, okay, I didn't know that if you have a dead roach, that's considered a violation. So
you mean on the follow-up after you've been closed already,
right?
Yeah.
Or if you see, a fruit fly, if there's one fruit fly, you fail. That's it. Now
on the follow-up.
So I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna pass, because I have no idea if a fruit fly is gonna come through or not. You know what I'm saying? It's uncontrollable. So I just let it go, and and the inspector went through, and I'm over there sweating, but we passed. Thank God we passed, because I have a huge overhead, huge payroll, that I got to meet.
How many employees are there? You have?
I have about 20 employees.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, okay, so then his dirty dining segment airs. What happens? I mean, did you feel embarrassed, shameful, remorseful?
Yeah, it's I was definitely, let's see. First I want to apologize to the viewers of Channel 10, because, for my reactions and everything like that. And of course to Jeff's mom. But, I felt attacked. I really did. I really felt, the guy came from the back, then he started coming through the front. I'm over here for 20 years. I'm trying to make everything work, the best I can. And, I think I should have handled it better, but I went, I just saw red, I was defending the place, and that's it.
It's the heat of the moment. I know, and you're already kind of down already. Not to excuse anything, but I appreciated the fact that you reached out to me and that you wrote this lengthy post and put it on the Let's Eat South Florida group. I see it's also been disseminated some other places, like the Plantation has a local Facebook group, and reaction didn't seem as kind there. Were you surprised? Because it seemed like 80% of the people, the comments on the Let's Eat group, were supportive of you and saw it from your point of view. Was that hard?
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah, I was actually surprised at that. They were definitely, saying, hey, what if, this happened to you, or, and they came through your back door, and your family was in the kitchen and somebody showed up with the cameras, you know what I'm saying? So, I think that, for the most part, we had a big, positive effect on it. But at the end of the day, the restaurant is affected, bottom line. And
you've seen a drop off in business, right?
Yeah. And it's a really big drop. It's a drop where I'm already cutting, unfortunately. It's scary. We don't know. I mean, look, it's early in the game right now. It's only been 2 weeks. So, hopefully things turn around.
Now, a lot of people on the Facebook group on Let's Eat was saying that, because of the way that you put forth, your side of the story, that they would be happy to come in and try it and check it out. Have you seen any of those people yet, or is it one of those things that people just say it online, or you'll wait and see?
No, there happened to be. I would say we've encountered maybe at least 3 or 4. New faces. When I say 3 or 4, I mean like couples or families that have come in, and they said, how did you hear about us? And they said they heard us on the podcast. That that's as far as it went. The conversation didn't go any further.
Oh, okay. Maybe here. That would be great.
Yeah,
so
I'm only on your podcast, so I believe that's you're the only one mentioning me, so I'm pretty sure. At least I think so. Anyway,
no, we have some reach. We are big in the local restaurant foodie community, and I do appreciate you coming on here today, Joe. But now, some people who are cynical say, "Oh, his apology and the whole post is just damage control. The guy is losing business and he's a hothead." And I mean, how do you respond to that? And I guess there's a little bit of truth to that, but it's also a little bit of the sincerity in what you've written. I mean, I
Right.
totally see your
You
point of
know,
view.
and I understand them too. At the same token, I would never want this to happen to another restaurateur like myself, you know. And if I could stop it, I'm going to stop it.
Well,
You know,
but let me be fair, because I guess in a way, people would say, well, you did it to yourself. You're the ones that had the roach issue and got shut down. But you're talking about the overblown or being
yes,
spotlighted on a dirty dining after just the first offense. Right?
right, exactly. I'm talking about. I'm not a non-repeater. You know, it's not like they've been here 3 or 4 times and they catch me and I continue to do business and continue to give service to the public and have a dirt and actually really have a dirty restaurant. It's not the case. You know, I'm going to do my best, you know, every morning now. You know, I walk through that kitchen with a flashlight and double check myself, you know. But at the same token, I feel that Jeff, you know, if, like I said, if Jeff calls himself an investigator, he should at least, and it could be even the big guys, you know, Starbucks, you know, whoever it is, as well as the little guys. We all should be treated the same, you know, but they need to do at least an investigation and whether we should sneak up on them through the back or go through the front. We sit down and have a little conversation, and that's it, and go from there. Because what he did was, you know, he potentially ruined the restaurant, you know, because the way they, you know, prescribed me was like, you know, we're just filthy restaurant. We got roaches all over the place, and I don't care about anything.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be on in the next segment. If you had a question to ask him, what would it be?
If I had a question to ask Jeff, I said, Jeff, next time be a man. Go to the front door. Especially do an investigation first. Do and look at my history. Come to the front. Okay. Stop trying to get your ratings and kill everybody. Okay, because there's no need for that. I get what you're trying to do. You want to help the public, give them heads up, and that's great. You know, do it. But at least find out what their history is. Find the history of the restaurant. You know, is it all the time? Is it, you know, or is this the first time? And if it is, give the guy a shot. Give him a shot. That's all. That's all I ask. Give the guy a shot.
All right. Well, and one other thing, if after Jeff comes on here and he says, you know, maybe this wasn't my finest moment either, or you know, I don't want to put words in his head, but if he wanted to maybe like try to come through the front door and have a follow up and talk to you, and then maybe do another segment that would maybe point out some of the history and the context, would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would definitely sit down with him and we could talk and, you know, rehash everything and we'll take it from there.
All right, Joe. Well, Joe Lay, that's the owner of Esposito's New York coal-fired pizza. And I had both the New York style and the coal-fired. I have to say, I put my vote in for the coal-fired. I like it on the well-done and crispier side, but they were both fine pizzas. And again, I had no hesitation about eating there. And look, just for context, you know, there are some restaurants that I know and love that have gotten dinged and shut down by health inspectors. In fact, one of the some of the best chefs I know run a restaurant that might happen to be a sponsor here, and they got dinged and had a shutdown. It's something that, you know, you have to own as a restaurant owner. It's embarrassing. It does cause you know, sometimes a little drop off in the customers, and it makes you explain things, and you know, sometimes there's a reasonable explanation, and in some cases it's because there's a vacancy next door, and then when there's a empty storefront or a former restaurant that sits there for 6 months and the landlord doesn't take care of it and doesn't do bug treatments, and then all of a sudden you have all those you know, creepy crawlies, where they go next door, even though you run a clean shop. And that's not what happened in your case, but I'm just saying these are the things that happen, and people, you know, sometimes are very quick to judge. And I'm a guy that has a little bit of context, and you know, I know what are deal breakers for me and what's not deal breakers. Obviously, if something has 350 rodent droppings and there's an accumulation and somebody's obviously being neglectful, that's a restaurant, that should send up alarm signals. But when it's, a first time offense, and yeah, there's some live roaches along with the dead roaches, not the best thing in the world, but sometimes, you could say it happens. Bugs happen. Bugs have been here long before humans were here in South Florida. They're going to be here long after we're gone. In fact, they might even be gnawing on me at some point in time.
They were here before the dinosaurs.
Yeah. So, look, everybody has to make their own decisions, but I do appreciate you, Joe, for coming on the show, explaining yourself, and also showing me around the restaurant the other day. And again, people can make their own choices. And Joe, again, hopefully we'll see you soon. I have to come in there and try that the veal chop Parmesan. It looks good.
Anytime, Michael. Thank you.
And then we're going to be talking after the upcoming break with Jeff Weinseir from Channel 10. But first, we'll take a break. You know what? I do have to do our daily live spot. And Joe, thanks. We'll
thank
have you
so
sign
much
off now.
But, thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was interesting stuff. And today is Thursday. It is Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market Day here on the Lunchbox, 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. I've been going there for more than 30 years. I get my Thanksgiving bird there every year. I get my Christmas Feast of the Seven Fishes for the lovely Michelle to cook every year. They have the greatest products, whether it's the beef, the steaks, the sausage, the chicken, and of course, their world famous seafood, including Florida stone crab claws in all sizes and varieties. You want to go onto their website, DelawareChicken.com, for their weekly circular, weekly specials, along with the daily catch. Every day they update what has just come in, what's the freshest, whether it's the mahi, sometimes grouper coming in from the Gulf, sometimes snapper coming in from the Keys. Every day you could check DelawareChicken.com. Better yet, go out to the market itself. It's right across from the Seminole Classic Casino there, State Road 7 in Hollywood. They're open 7 days. They have curbside pickup if you want. Just check out that website, get the phone number. You could phone in your order every day, at least 2 hours before closing for your curbside pickup. They close weekdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 4 p.m. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Tell them that the Lunchbox and Mike Mayo sent you. We're supposed to be there next Thursday, Lubie and Defo, for our first live remote. We're going to be doing monthly remotes there. So we're looking forward to that because we're going to be doing all kinds of fun things with their seafood, maybe eating some stone crabs and show people the proper way to crack and peel a colossal stone crab claw. But that's it. All right. We'll be back after these words with Jeff Weinseir, who is on the line with us on the Lunchbox. Very exciting edition. What do you think, Defo? Are you happy to be back from AC?
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. Looking forward to hearing from Jeff here. You didn't leave a lot of room for questions there, Joe.
No,
we're just riding shotgun here on this one.
It's my old journalistic instincts. I hope I was incisive, but anyway, that's it. Let's take a break. We'll be back with Jeff after these words. Looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more? Go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6. The early bird special runs from 4:30 to 5:30, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mike Mayo. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a good bagel with Nova or some matzo ball soup, homemade knishes, or a great deli pastrami sandwich on rye, you know where I go? Grandpa's Cafe in Dania Beach. It's been around a long time, an institution, but a little over a year ago, a pair of New Yorkers came in, bought it, and refurbished the place. It's beautiful, and they are now serving great breakfast, brunch, lunch. They've got the omelets. They've got eggs Benedict. They've got all kinds of great baked goods like rugelach. Grandpa's is just off Federal Highway on Southwest 1st Street in Dania Beach. It's open 7 days. Go in there, tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally, and they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Go in there on a Wednesday. They got buy one, get one on cheesesteaks from 5 to 8 p.m. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. We're back here on a Thursday edition of the Lunchbox. Jeff Defo DeForest is back. Mike Lubie is here. And now joining us, I guess from the offices and studios of Channel 10 in, I don't even know the town. Is it the Pembroke Park or it's on Hallandale Beach Boulevard? I know I've been there, but investigative reporter, and you know him as I guess the face of Dirty Dining. It's become a popular segment. Not popular with certain restaurateurs, like one Joe Lay. And welcome to the Lunchbox, Jeff Weinseir. How are you today?
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. I am fine today.
Good. So let me get to it. I guess you've been doing Dirty Dining how long, and what caused it to come about? What was the genesis of the segment?
We have been doing Dirty Dining at Local 10 for 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
It was for a ratings period. We originally did bacteria and ice for a ratings period where we went around and we tested ice to see if there was bacteria in ice, and there was fecal matter in some ice.
Oh, man, I hate when that happens.
And it turned out to be successful, and my boss is like, people eat out, people can relate to it. What can we do? And when you go to New York and when you go to California, and we spent some time in Wake County, North Carolina, the Raleigh area, where they also post-restaurant inspection grades. So you know exactly what you're getting into. They don't do it here in Florida because the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association doesn't want it. And
they oppose it, yeah.
A lobbying group, and they don't believe in it. And so there's really no other way for the public to really know. It is public information. It's on the website, but most people don't know really how to navigate and get to it. So we make it easy for the public, to find that information. It's public information, but the layman really doesn't know how to get there. So we post the good and the bad. And we have a Dirty Dining segment. We have a Clean Plate segment as well, because the state doesn't allow.
It doesn't mandate posting letter grades like in many other big cities, metropolitan areas, New York.
And we did the Dirty Dining segment, and it's just it's a popular
and that's another issue, and I'm glad that you brought it up and you raised it actually in the report that featured Esposito's and Joe. It was something that I was crusading for when I was the critic, because it just seems like a no-brainer to me. Like the most easiest way to get bad actors to clean up their acts is to publicly, make them put up their grades. The New York system is such that if somebody funks, like in this case, like let's say at Esposito's, they are given time to, open up with the reinspection, and then the inspectors show up again within a 30-day period unannounced. And that is what the letter grade is based on. So it does give second chances to operators that may have had a first shutdown. And again, if they end up getting the second surprise reinspection with flying colors, they can still get their A's. So it is a kind of forgiving system, and it's actually helped a lot of things from what I read in New York, that the number of complaints about food poisoning was down, and just the number, it's such a competitive industry that places with B's, they could survive if they have a following and good food, but places with C's end up going out of business almost immediately. I wish we had that same system here in Florida. We do not, for reasons that you state. So we have journalists like yourself that is trying to do a watchdog role. But I assume you heard Mr. Lay and his, segment and some of his, contentions and critiques. But I guess, how do you respond of the whole fairness issue of if it's somebody's first offense in 18 years for being shut down for bugs, do they deserve to have the spotlight shown on them like that?
I mean, if you have what's your exact question? I'm not going to respond to the way he reacted. If you have a specific question, I'll answer it. I mean,
His question, did you mention in the report that, it's his contention? I couldn't go back all 18 years. I just looked back what was posted on the website going back, I think 5 years to like 2019 or 20, but that he's never been shut down before or had a bug issue before. I mean, you don't think that's important?
No, it's not important, because
if somebody's been in business 20 years and this is their first time they've ever been dinged and shut down, you don't think that maybe they don't deserve to be spotlighted in dirty dining, that it should be maybe reserved for more chronic ones, people that are repeatedly offending and repeatedly getting shut down or repeatedly having to have follow-up inspections?
Let me say this, that the state inspectors are trained. They don't go around shutting restaurants. There aren't 20, 30 restaurants a week shut down in the entire state of Florida. When they shut you down for a reason, whether it's your first offense or your fifth offense. A first offense is irrelevant. The roaches are in your kitchen. The roaches carry 30 different types of bacteria when you're in your kitchen the first time. They carry salmonella. They can lead to sepsis, okay? Wherever roaches are, they defecate where they are that first time, okay? They're crawling in dirty drains. They eat the dirty organic matter in your mops. When the lights go out in your kitchen at night, they're crawling around your kitchen on clean utensils, possibly. And I'm not talking about Espositos, I'm talking generality. They're crawling around your prep tables. They're crawling around your kitchen that first time, and they cause foodborne illness. That is why the state-trained investigators order you shut that very first time. Your track record has nothing to do with it. People are eating in that restaurant. You have a responsibility to keep it clean, whether it's the first time or the fifth time. And what Mr. Esposito said to me in one of the conversations we had is that the inspector was in there with a flashlight. Maybe he didn't do that prior to this, or his staff didn't do that prior to this. And if anything comes out of this story, whether it's the first time or the fifth time, it's that hopefully that when he and or his employees lock the door now, that they never want to be in this position again. And maybe he will walk around his restaurant now with a flashlight and or his customers, and they will do what the inspector does to not be in this position again, because having roaches in your kitchen could cause a foodborne illness to a customer. It's as simple as that. He was ordered shut by the state. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that he was the only place that week in the entire South Florida area that was ordered shut by a state inspector.
Well, I'm going to let Defo ask a question. Go ahead.
To follow up with that, he said, and it was his quote, that I ruined his restaurant. No, he did, not me. It's his responsibility to keep his restaurant clean. He was ordered shut by the state. Mike, you had a follow-up?
No, I just well, okay. One follow-up, and then I want Defo to chime in here. But on weeks that there are multiple shutdowns in Broward County or Miami and Broward, how do you choose which one to spotlight? And then other ones don't get those cameras trained on them. And and I guess he was saying because he was the only one, he ended up being the one that got spotlighted and featured on Dirty Dining. How do you do it on weeks when there are 4 or 5?
Well, first of all, rodents take precedent. They take precedent with the state as well, any kind of rodent issue. But we also take a look at where the roaches actually were.
So wait, rodents number 1, roaches number 2, and then food like preparation, like things held at improper temperatures or spoiled food number 3. Is that the ranking list?
They don't shut you down for spoiled food. The state of Florida shuts you down for roach issues, rodent issues, fly issues, sewage backup issues. If you have no water potable water, they shut you down. There are certain things that they shut you down for. Refrigeration issues. Rodent issues are number one. Second part is, where are the roaches in conjunction where the food is, where the food prep is. In his case, and I have the inspection here, they were crawling around the kitchen in several different areas, to the point where the inspector found that it met the criteria that he was ordered shut. And I want to be very clear that we are not inspectors. We regurgitate what the inspector finds at any restaurant. We're not inspectors. We regurgitate the public report that is on the web.
Right. So again, on a week where there's multiple, you make a decision on who's the worst offender, and that's
of course
the one.
We only have a certain amount of time.
Right. So in a sense, Joe was just his bad luck that he was the only one, because maybe something would have been worse that week, or somebody else. Like if somebody had had a prior shutdown within the past 2 years, would that put it at the top of a list, as opposed to somebody who's been clean for, however X many 15 years?
It depends. I mean, it all depends on the circumstances. If somebody was shut down more than once, yeah, they would probably, this is the second time we've been here. This is the third time we've been here. But if there's somebody that has roaches in a dining room where food may not be prepped and cooked and made, as opposed to the back of the house, where food is cooked, where prep tables are, because again, roaches usually don't come out at night. During the day, they usually come out at night when the lights are out.
Yeah.
Defo, you got something for Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, nice of you to come on the show. I've been watching Dirty Dining for many, many years. This was kind of an interesting episode that emerged out of it. Two things, though, Jeff, and as I said, a pleasure to have you on here, doing all the good, job for a long, long time.
Sure.
There on Channel 10 with your investigative reporting. Were you a fan of Mike Wallace and his visits to transmission shops in New York, number one? And number two, you and the crew decide, hey, we're going to break down now and go to someplace, get a burger. How welcome are you when you come to a restaurant just to eat?
Listen, I hear all the time, if you're eating here, it must be clean. I heard that the other.
I ran into him at one of our sponsors, Grandpa's. Yeah. I see Jeff out and about. I
eat out all the time.
Yeah.
If you look in the bathroom, if the bathroom's clean, the kitchen's usually clean. I do, want to say also to Mr. Esposito, I don't know him. We didn't target him. He was on a list. I have no ill will to him and or his facility whatsoever. I hope those 80 to 100 people that backed him and that are against dirty dining all show up at the same time, and he runs out of food. He's so busy. That is my intention, is certainly not to put him out of business or to harm his business. It is to educate the public, because the public has a right to know. Since the state of Florida does not allow us as consumers to post a letter grade on the door, where else do they get that information? Most don't have access to that. And I think we do a public service. And at the same time, we do clean plate. And if he ever has 0 violations, I'd be more than happy to put him on the clean plate list. As we do several restaurants that we show up to, we give them a framed clean plate award that they can post right there for everybody to see.
And those are restaurants that get 0 violations.
0 violations.
Right.
It's not easy to do. And I will tell you, I'll name names. Capriccio's, University. Okay.
Good spot.
2020, 0 violations.
Wow,
no roaches, no fire extinguisher issues, no nothing since 2020.
Not to be cynical, Jeff, but there are some who would say, well, does that just mean that they have a good relationship with the inspectors?
I can't prove what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I can just tell you what's in black and white. Okay. The Georgia Pig just celebrated 70 years in business. No dirty dining there.
Did you think
Sunny Steak Hoagie, 65 years. Never done a dirty dining there. There are people that do it. If they come in the boxes, bring the boxes in. Open the boxes outside. There are things that you can do.
Lubie, you got a question for Jeff?
I was going to say, and it's something that Joe took umbrage with, and I was curious about. I understand, and I wouldn't call this gotcha journalism, because I actually, even if we had grades, I would like a show like this. But the fact that we don't have grades, and we live in this state that wants to silence information, I'm thirsting for the truth. So I appreciate what dirty dining does. But I will ask, do you all ever have a conversation before the cameras? Do you ever?
No.
Okay.
I'll be happy to tell you why we do what we do.
I'm curious to know, actually.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, give us the methodology.
I hate the prepared statement. If somebody knows we're coming, I get from all the time, Burger King, Wendy's, and even tell their PR people, if you're going to tell me that our customers are our most important, the press releases, our customers are our most important, it's a waste of time. I don't like the prepared statement. If they know we're coming, the kitchen is going to look like it's going to be spotless. That's not real. I want real. I want them to tell us exactly what happened and why it happened. And a lot of people asked, and Mr. Lay keeps saying, we snuck in the back door. We snuck in the back door. And I want to explain what we do and how we do it. First of all, everything we do is on, we say tape. It's not on tape anymore. It's on a disc. We didn't sneak anywhere. The inspector had just been to these places and ordered them shut. So one of the things that we do is we drive around the back, because one of the main violations is you are not allowed to have your back door open. If it's a delivery situation, I get it. So what we do in most places is we pull to the back and we sit there and we wait for a little while to see what goes on in the back door. A lot of people sometimes break down boxes and we watch. If it's a delivery, we give them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, the back door has to be open, but 9 times out of 10, the back door is wide open because it's hot in the kitchen. I get it, but the back door can't be open. It's a violation. It's a state rule. His door was open. We didn't see any deliveries. There were no boxes in the back. There was a slicer there. There was a gentleman standing right there. We were there 15 minutes before we walked to the back door, did not go in the kitchen. We stood at the back door. There was a gentleman there. I said, I'm Jeff Weinseir with Local 10 News. I never, ever, I'm not flippant about it. I never say, how are your roaches? I never say, this place is roach infested. I say, I'm Jeff Weinseir with Local 10 News. I introduce myself. The gentleman got Mr. Lay. We saw Mr. Lay. It's all on tape. It's all on tape. Mr. Lay comes out. I say, I'm Jeff Weinseir. I'm a television reporter at Local 10 News. Can we talk to you about last week's inspection? Never mentioned roaches right off the bat. It's on tape. He pushes us out of the way, pushes us out of the area, out of the back door. He says, let's go inside. He says, you guys are with Channel 10. He mumbles something under his breath. He closes the door. I say, this is the way you guys had roaches last week. Slams the door. I say, this is the way you want to handle it. And that's when he came out and said, your mother has roaches. Yeah, your mother. That's it's on video. It's there. Never said to him in any flippant way, how are your roaches? Your place is roach infested. Never stepped on his toes. That's the way it all played out. It's for everybody to see. And that's the way it went down.
Now, he apologized to your mother for invoking her name. He did not apologize to you, because I guess he doesn't respect your methodology. But does that matter to you? I mean, no. Were you offended by the mother comment? I guess. Okay.
I've been a reporter for 32 years. I've been doing dirty dining for 17 years. I have thick skin.
You've been chased with machetes, right? Or
that had to be pretty mild.
There are people that, despite it's in black and white, there are people who are going to say we make things up. There are people, I could do a story on the fact that the sky is blue, and there are people that are going to say that I'm lying about the fact the sky is blue. I get it. It's the nature of the business nowadays. The inspector found what the inspector found. Things turned out the way they did because Mr. Lay reacted the way he did. It is what it is. I can't change it. I don't wish anything bad on him. I hope, if anything,
But let me ask this.
becomes on
It's
the
not
clean
like
plate.
you don't make anything up. It's all in the report. True. But do you think fairness behooves you to maybe mention like whether it's a first offense? And was that contained in this report? Did you try to go back and see his priors and would mention, obviously, if it was a third shutdown in 2 years, you would mention that. Did you mention if this is the first time going back as far as you could tell, or
I didn't. I didn't mention that it was a. I could have. Yes.
is that fair?
Is it fair? Probably not. But based on you guys are snakes. Your mother.
I know.
Roaches,
Okay. All right.
You give what you get. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I've been there before.
Excuse me. This is not television. Go fuck yourselves. You guys are a piece of shit. Suck my dick. I mean, you know what? You give
no
what
cursing rule on the lunchbox, but we'll give you an exception since this is a quote. Okay.
You give what you get.
Okay.
All
right. Would you eat there?
Would I eat there? I don't eat at places that I don't eat at places that are ordered shut by the state, even if they're cleaned up. It's just my personal experience. I don't.
And I don't want to say that you're holier than thou, but the whole, obviously roaches, nobody wants roaches. Obviously they can carry all kinds of, illnesses, salmonella, the foodborne illnesses. But I mean, you've never seen a roach in your house or kitchen area?
Of course I have, but I don't serve the public.
But you still serve yourself and your family, right?
Of course I do, but I have my exterminator come. I may have seen 2 roaches in my house in my 23 years there, but I just don't feel comfortable eating in a place that has had that kind of thing. That's my personal business, and that's my personal
I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm more forgiving than you, because if the food's good and I don't get sick from the food, I'll go back even if they got dinged one time. Again, if it's one time. If there's a pattern, I see that, they're cutting corners, they're serving food 8 days past when they first prepared it, that they might be in some sort of financial difficulties, and then now it might put the safety of the customer.
I'm not saying anybody should eat there. That's my personal, what I do. I don't eat at restaurants that are ordered shut by the state, only because I've been there.
Going back how long? Is there a statute of limitations, or
no? I've just been there and I've put them on television, and who knows what anybody's going to do to my meal behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
I just personally don't eat there for that reason. I don't want.
I could see that.
I don't want any special sauce. You know what I mean? So I personally just don't do that. But I'm certainly not telling anybody to eat there. Personally, if a place is ordered shut and the state allows them to reopen, they're probably cleaner than they've ever been.
Honestly.
Defo, got anything more for Jeff?
Well, I was curious because I've seen when you do the clean table presentation, and every now and then, when you mention, hey, Jeff Weinseir, seems to be a little bit of reluctance. You'll ask if the owner is there, and the people at the front go, "Hey, is Joe around? It's Weinseir." And even though you're about to do something nice and drop this, commendation on the place. But, kind of along the line of questioning that Mike was on there, wouldn't it make some sense for a place that was violated and featured as dirty dining, which, immediately has extremely negative connotations, that if they cleaned up their act and met with all of the specifications of the state, and they're back in business for a year or so, do you ever think about revisiting these places and saying, hey, look what these guys did, man. They got violated once and they really went to town. They corrected everything. And this is now a fine. Do you ever go back? It doesn't sound like you do. And say, hey, you guys now deserve, the ultimate in terms of cleanliness certifications, because you've really done a fine job of correcting whatever the problem was before.
Yeah, we do that when they wind up on the clean plate list. And we did that at Spanky's Cheesesteak on 441 in Pompano, I think it was Margate.
Yeah, that's Margate, yeah.
Yeah. And when new owner bought it, and it was filthy, and we did dirty dinings there, and he bought it, and a week later the inspector showed up and it was still dirty, and he was on the dirty dining list, and he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to be on the clean plate list And he was, and we did a whole thing there. We don't have time. I don't have time to go to all the restaurants that are ordered shut and do I do other, as a reporter, I do other stories. Dirty dining is not the only thing that I do.
Right.
But we be on the clean plate list, and that's the way to do it.
Now, and I appreciate you sitting here with us and explaining, because this is a high interest thing. You do get good ratings and clicks on the dirty dining segments. And one of our viewers just now says, I get the value of it, but just showing up with the cameras rolling or going out back is a bit much. And I know you don't want the polished PR crisis management response, but what Joe is saying is, why not just without the camera crew in tow, just walk in by yourself and say, and look, I'm coming at it as a guy who was a columnist, and I had to put myself in some situations where I know people didn't want to talk to me, but I always gave them a chance to start talking, and without having our camera person taking pictures of them, and just maybe trying to get an explanation, just also out of fairness to hear their side, and then maybe include that even if they don't want to go on camera. I mean, his contention is, why not just come in through the front door, talk about it. And instead, when he sees you kind of lurking out back, and I guess I can understand, because you've been chased before and people aren't happy to see you, that you want to get your B-roll and get whatever you can get in the back before maybe somebody says, get out of here, or I'm going to, trespass you. But do you ever question that methodology, and maybe just kind of go in there and try to just kind of get things rolling, just from a perspective of the other side before the cameras roll?
No, I don't. Like I said, I don't want the polished PR answer. I don't want a lot of times we still find violations exist after the inspector was there the week before. So no, I mean, that's the way we do it. That's the way we've done it. I apologize if people don't like it. A lot of people who don't maybe sleep on it, or don't like the way they responded, or don't like the way things happen, do call us the next day or maybe 2 days later and say, hey, offer an explanation and have a civil conversation, which maybe Mr. Lay could have done, didn't. We could have had a conversation and taken a few steps back, and he could have all the things he explained to you, and all the things he certainly explained on Facebook. We could have had that conversation. Didn't. That could have been something as well. But I'm not going to change my methodology. I'm not going to change the way we do things. This is the way we do things. And sometimes we catch people a week after the inspector was there still doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Just one last thing. One of our viewers, Joanne, I think she used to be an inspector up north at one point. But have you ever done like a ride along, spending a day either with cameras or without, with a health inspector, just get a sense of what they do and see also?
No, they don't I've asked numerous times.
They won't let you.
Yeah. All right. Defo, anything else before we wrap up with Jeff? And we appreciate.
Oh, I appreciate him coming on the show. That's great. And as you said, he does other investigative reporting. So it's not like a Help Me Howard thing where the guy has one job and you're wondering what he does the rest of the week while everybody else is saying, hey, wait a minute.
At this point, Finkelstein is playing golf. He's retired. So.
I don't think he does it.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate it. I keep coming back to this, and being in sports my whole life, I mean, there's always examples of the guy that had a brilliant career but made one dumb play, and that's what he's known for. Bill Buckner, Jackie Smith, among others. But so I'm kind of sensitive and think along the lines that Mike did, that maybe you have to kind of look at an overall body of work. But you explain your position on that, and that's how you operate, with everybody. So I guess in that sense, it's fair that the first violation is a major development. And, as we know, with inspectors and things of that nature, there could be some things that are overlooked. This is Florida after all. So, you're doing your job, and I guess, I respect the fact that not only you have a thick skin, but you have to have a pretty tough exterior. Because I would imagine there have been many times when what's the strangest thing that's ever been thrown at you during this period of time? Did they ever go with the Frisbee plates? I mean, did they ever just like use them as if they were one of those ninja stars?
We've had plates thrown at us. We've had doors slammed in our face. At the Ham and Eggery that's no longer with us on 167th and 6th Avenue, he had flock of turkeys, wild turkeys. That are out in the back kitchen.
Turn them loose.
A Hitchcock movie, right?
There's feathers all over the place while he's making eggs, and I just was like, I mean,
Great
you name
job,
it,
yeah.
we've kind of seen it.
Did you come in with like a Gallagher cover? You know, as if the guy's about to squish a watermelon, or have you,
No,
worried about your clothes?
No, we just do
All
what
right.
we do, and it is what it is. And like I said, I certainly appreciate people make mistakes. I appreciate the first time factor, but there are, you're dealing with people, foodborne illness that can get people sick, and the roaches. I understand the first time, but they spread disease, and if you do your research, whether it's roach, people shrug their shoulders.
But just point of clarification, as far as you know, nobody has filed any kind of complaint of foodborne illness or food
No,
poisoning
of course
from
not.
Espositos. Right. Okay. So
No, not at all. I'm not talking in generalities. And the truth of the matter is, we've asked the health department, and a lot of people go home and they say, I have a stomach ache, and they blame the food, and not at Esposito's. I'm not talking about Esposito's.
Right.
And it's so hard to prove unless 18 people from the same place complain
the same thing and
about the same thing. It's hard to prove
very,
that
very hard.
This is where I got sick from this place. Proving a foodborne illness case is nearly impossible, because people just say, oh, I got sick, and they don't really know. And did you get sick from this meal, or did you get sick from breakfast? You know what I mean? It's really hard to prove.
Yeah.
So,
all right, before we let you go, one last question. This is not an endorsement, but what's your favorite restaurant around town? And
where do you like going?
We go all over the place. I have kids. I don't know. I don't really have.
All right, I don't want to put you on the spot. That's it. You're not a paid endorser. You don't have to give your favorite.
Yeah,
what's the restaurant that you ate at most recently? That's something that's factual.
Last night. Well, I don't. This is going to be. Last night we ate at John the Baker.
Oh, nice.
That's a good spot. Yeah, no doubt. Very favorable reviews.
Yes,
let's eat South Florida. But I mean, when you go in there, I see like the poor guy that owns the place has to be thinking, what on earth did I do?
Well, I mean, John the Baker, I grew up in North Miami Beach, so we ate at Mayo the Baker on West Dixie Highway, which is John's uncle. So it's like a whole.
Defo, the marker is usually if he comes with his kids, that's a good sign. If he comes with the cameraman,
but who knows? He has to go
so
undercover.
good.
I mean, it's not like he rolls in there with the cameras right away. But all right, excellent, Jeff. Thanks so much.
We know we got lots of things to do. We appreciate you carving out a full half hour of your day to join us here on the Lunchbox. I hope we can do it again.
It's an important topic.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd like to talk to you more. We're not.
Right. Only guy scarier walking into a restaurant in Mayo is Jeff Weinseir.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah. They cower in fear when Mayo walks in, even if he's giving them a favorable review. They're wondering why he's back. Incredible.
Hey, we got to do some business. We're going to be talking about Visit Lauderdale. Greater Fort Lauderdale welcomes everyone under the sun, and that means all you foodies out there, the culinary explorers, cocktail connoisseurs, craft beer aficionados. Come on, come all. Get ready to savor every flavor and every moment. More than 4,000 restaurants in the Greater Fort Lauderdale area, and a bunch of them have Clean Plate Charlie certificates, and a bunch of them have never been shut down by the state. And there's some really elevated cuisine. There's the dockside dining with breathtaking views, lively cafes along Las Olas, award-winning chefs serving up every cuisine imaginable, like our friend Timon Baloo at the Catherine. There's a world-class culinary scene waiting for you here. So come stay and play in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Don't forget the thrilling nightlife scene. You could have the Visit Lauderdale Ale Trail, all the great craft breweries in town. A lot of them have good food as well, like my friends over at Three Sons Brewing here in Dania Beach, or up at Funky Buddha up in Oakland Park. It's all there. Hidden speakeasies, also rooftop bars, expert mixologists. It's a never-ending culinary and libation celebration in Greater Fort Lauderdale, and everyone's invited. So for more information about the latest events and promotions, go to visitlauderdale.com. We got to do some commercials, and then we'll wrap up. We'll have a brief chat with Defo about Atlantic City, and then we'll be at Gulfstream tomorrow, and that'll be fun too. So we'll be back after these words on a jam-packed bonus edition of the Lunchbox. Mayo here for Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Since 1951, family owned for over 70 years, the home of freshness. I've been a customer for over 3 decades, and it's the place to go for poultry, steaks, meats, and of course, their unbelievable selection of fish and seafood. They've got it all. Key West pink shrimp, grouper, snapper, lobster, and of course, Florida stone crab claws of all sizes. Don't forget their famous fish dip and a full selection of prepared foods. It's located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, just across from the Seminole Classic Casino. Owner Doug Carter and crew will take great care of you. Make sure to check out their weekly specials and daily catch online at DelawareChicken.com. Quality, value, freshness, that's the Delaware way. Tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. Do you like pizza? Who doesn't like pizza? Well, my spot for pizza is the Pizza Spot. It's in that little bit hard to find Riverside Park neighborhood of Fort Lauderdale, but it's totally easy to love. It's at 601 Southwest 12th Avenue, New Haven style, a pizza from Wade and Reese. It's a lovely outdoor spot. You could also pick up pies to go at 754-779-7788, 754-779-7788. Again, they're open every day but Monday for lunch and dinner. Some of the best pizza I've ever had. Go to Pizza Spot. They also have subs, salads, and more. Tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you. If you like seafood, looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more, go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6. The early bird special runs from 4:30 to 5:30, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mike Mayo. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a good bagel with Nova or some matzo ball soup, homemade knishes, or a great deli pastrami sandwich on rye, you know where I go? Grandpa's Cafe in Dania Beach. It's been around a long time, an institution, but a little over a year ago, a pair of New Yorkers came in, bought it, and refurbished the place. It's beautiful, and they are now serving great breakfast, brunch, lunch. They've got the omelets. They've got eggs Benedict. They've got all kinds of great baked goods like rugelach. Grandpa's is just off Federal Highway on Southwest 1st Street in Dania Beach. It's open 7 days. Go in there, tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally, and they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Go in there on a Wednesday. They got buy one, get one on cheesesteaks from 5 to 8 p.m. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Well, we're back on the Lunchbox. We're a little bit of overtime today, but I think that was well worth it, Defo. Though, was that interesting segment there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great thing on Let's Eat South Florida, and it's nice to kind of be able to dissect it a little bit here and, give a little illumination on what took place. I feel for Joe and the people at his restaurant. As you said, you went there. It was fine. I would think, a couple of things with Jeff, who's just out there doing his job, but see, I don't know. Like we talked about, I had a roach crawling on my table at the Forge, for God's sake. It was one of the most illustrious restaurants in South Florida history. And
the Tub would have been shut forever.
Right.
I mean, it's an outdoor
It
place
happens,
where
right.
roaches run
So,
about. Yeah.
so I do believe that what may be mistaken, especially since this was the only restaurant that was cited that week. I mean, if you're going to pick that guy out on a first-time violation, and know that you have a chance, if you don't completely destroy his business, to at least impede him from having the kind of success he needs, as he stated, to make payroll, and a lot of people are depending on these restaurant owners, to at least be able to not be swimming in a sea of red ink, so they have to make cuts. And the association with dirty dining, it has such negative connotations. I think you kind of have to hold back a little bit before you pass judgment. In that sense, where you're essentially just putting
discretion,
a stamp, right on the restaurant that this place is not a good place for you to go and it's unhealthy. And
maybe
I don't know that that's fair.
I don't know if I become an old softy, but like discretion, context, fairness.
That place is shut down for one day, and they come right back and they pass the examination. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not going to be
Look,
something atypical here.
And I like, again, it's why we had them on, and I appreciate
Yeah.
both of them coming on, because like they say, there's one side, the other, and the truth. So we got to have both sides. And I like
Yeah.
that both gentlemen came, and no one was yelling. No one was,
No, look, they both have their
I
positions.
appreciate
Look,
it.
But Jeff moves on to the next story, whereas Joe is dealing with the carnage from being labeled as somebody who's running an unhealthy
carnage
restaurant.
partly of his own
Yeah.
making, but exacerbated
Somewhat,
by
but as you
having
said,
the
we know
TV
people that
cameras.
we know are extremely dedicated to the restaurant business, and they've had these one-day shutdowns. So
And they've
were
gotten
ordered
past
to do
it.
certain
Yeah.
things to be in compliance with whatever the regulations are, and it can happen. So I think you need to have a little bit of tolerance, because it's such a kick in the sensitive area to a restaurant to be labeled as being dirty dining. And he goes into some places and you're looking, going, yeah, that place looks like a candidate, but it sounds to me like, even from your own experience and the way that Joe went about his business and described how he does it, that maybe a little discretion should have been used before they
Yeah.
go in there with the cameras and say,
That's
this
my
place
thing
is a dump. Yeah.
I get what. Look, we do this. It's why people write their openings and do all these things, and they have these interviews and they write the questions. We literally will be on Radio Row, do 10 interviews back to back to back to back, and not have anything prepped, because we want natural. Defo and I specifically have always been about just go and do it. It's fun, be real. So I understand wanting real. That's not real. And that's my only contention with what he did. It wasn't about real, and he knows it's not about real.
Yeah, these aren't major corporate chains where they
gotcha.
have the PR departments.
Yeah.
This is when you're dealing with mom and pop.
It's one guy. We're
operators.
making
Yeah.
pizzas.
Not
Yeah.
gotcha. He could have done it. Mayo said he could have gone right to Joe. Joe didn't seem like a guy who was going to write a statement. Like, that dude seemed very upfront.
Yeah.
He could have said, look,
He's a Long Island. Oh, I didn't even get to the best part. I didn't share with everybody his prior business before getting into the restaurant business up in Long Island. He owned a pest control company.
Yeah,
Talk about irony. But
No, he sounded very sincere. It was a shame to see what might have happened to him. I don't necessarily blame Jeff Weinseir for that, but I don't know that it was totally his fault that this inspection, where he drew a negative inspection, and sounded like he turned it right around and was dedicated to doing the right thing to begin with.
Here's what we learned today. That Joe Lay has apologized to Jeff Weinseir's mother, that Jeff Weinseir's mother does not, in fact, have roaches, and that Jeff Weinseir himself admits that maybe he isn't fair all the times, and that it is the
good.
unlucky luck of the draw if you're the only one to get shut down that week. That
That seems grossly unfair. It really does.
and that's weird.
And he's unforgiving, because if he'll never go back to a place that ever got shut down,
Well, he was saying,
he-
I get it. He
He's
was
shut
saying,
out of a lot of places. Yeah.
like, not because they're bad food. It's they're never going to forget he's Jeff Weinseir.
Yeah.
And you know
right,
how.
but if it's of a place that got shut down and was not spotlighted on dirty dining, and he still says he won't go there, I could understand completely if if he did a segment on them, I wouldn't want to go back either, because they could do things to that's understandable.
Well, you
But
probably
to take-
experienced some of that.
Well, if I gave a place 2
Yeah.
stars and I tried, to
I
go
see
back
you
and
going
forth.
into a sub shop and they treat you like the guy in Casino when the cops wanted a sandwich in the back there. No, you're generally well respected. I mean, Weinstein, right away, if you're a restaurateur, you're thinking this is a problem. Do I really want this guy coming in? And then it's always some guys aren't used to being on TV or whatever. I mean,
No, they're
it's
not
very
polished at all.
confrontational to have somebody rolling with cameras and they're already rolling in your face.
That
And
was
that's
even
why,
the
like,
question, does anyone ever handle it well? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know, how would you handle that well? Like,
I mean, you're
dude,
not going to say, "Oh, Mr. Weinstein, so
Hey.
nice of you to come today after we just got shut down for a day by the inspectors here, who, frankly, were out of their mind. I don't know what they were. There's so many different sides of the story. I don't think it's fair to portray a place as being part of a dirty dining
I don't like
scene
that
when
name if you're
it
gonna
could
have
be
like,
something relatively minor, which in this case it sounds like it was.
It's not, again, when you have the live roaches besides the dead roaches and they're running around the kitchen, it's not exactly minor, but it can happen. And I
Yeah.
think, the forgiveness and the willing to let somebody, have a second chance, that's a big part of my whole deal. I give
And maybe
people
sometimes go back, and say, hey, these guys were shut down 6 times, but you know what? They really took it to heart, and now they run a fine place. The food was always
sometimes
great. Come on back, people. Come on
Usually
back.
it's when there's a change of ownership that a
Yeah.
place that has maybe been, not the cleanest in the past and it's gotten dinged. They'll have a change of ownership, and then better things start happening. So that's
Well,
all we could
Weinstein is
do.
also used to the owner never being around. Like, he doesn't want to talk to him, period. I mean, I really, that's the funniest part when he comes in and to do the open table thing or whatever, the clean table. And the guy's hiding. I mean, he's cowering underneath like a box of dry ice or something. And,
Meanwhile, our
and then
friend,
they tell him, oh, it's a good thing. And you're like, oh, okay, here he is. Here's the owner of the place. He's very proud to talk to you, Jeff.
meanwhile, our
Odd
friend
job
Andy.
to have, yeah.
Andy also points out, like, besides the irony of Joe Lay formerly operating a pest control company, is the irony that he does look like Mr. Clean.
Had a resemblance. Yeah,
He
could have
does.
been on a bottle of cleanser.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I feel for
I
the
was
guy.
in
I'm
there.
glad you went there, and give
glad
it the
you
thumbs
even
up there
out
from the
No,
lunchbox.
I would go. I want to go back and have the view because the pizza was good, and I had no ill effects. I did not see anything dirty, and it's always a new day. It's just like what we encounter at the racetrack. It's like, all right, maybe you had a bad day, come back and try to do better tomorrow, which we will tomorrow at Gulfstream Park.
Yes,
And
sir.
looking forward to that. We're going to come up with another trivia contest, and this last week, Defo, did you hear we had only one
I heard
winner?
there was one winner. Yeah,
No
one guy
tiebreak,
had the
and
horse.
half the field scratched. There were only 5
Yeah.
horses, 41 entries, and
It's a
only
tough
one
contest.
person
It's not
picked
easy.
the winner. So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. And the winning contest, the entry, the restaurant was the Forge, where you said you saw roaches.
Honestly, I mean, I was cringing because I'm with 3 beautiful ladies, right? A girl that I was seeing at the time and 2 of her gorgeous friends who I wouldn't have minded, having a relationship with either. And there I am, and the guy's comping me the whole meal. Order whatever you want. I try not to be too much of a pig, but it wasn't like it was cheap, to eat there. It was going to be a big fat check being picked up, and there's this little roach just crawling right by the plate of one of these lovely young ladies, and I'm thinking, my God. This is the Forge, so it can happen. I think there needs to be a little bit of understanding here that it is Florida, and this thing that happened. I mean, I had a roach in my kitchen when the guy next door started knocking down his kitchen, and they started doing construction, and then all of a sudden, after never seeing a roach in the house here for a year and change, there's one big giant cockroach just sitting there. I haven't seen one since either. So I mean, this kind of stuff happens in Florida. So I don't know that you can overreact to it.
And we also have to remember that in certain countries and certain cultures, bugs are the dinner plate. They're
Well, I
edible
mean,
protein.
I don't know if Shirley had any when she's in India, but
I did in Thailand.
we know Jessica Blaylock of what was Bally Sports, Florida, is inclined to go ahead and try the chocolate-covered grasshoppers if she's on
She's
the
the
road.
Andrew Zimmern of the local airwaves. All right, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around later. Again, thanks to our guest today, Joe Lay, owner of Esposito's New York Coal-Fired Pizza in Davie, and Jeff Weinseir, the investigative reporter of Dirty Dining and other investigations on Channel 10 WPLG. We're going to be back tomorrow at Gulfstream Park for a Gulfstream Friday. I'm looking forward to that. And until then, for Jeff Defo DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Mike Mayo saying, remember to enjoy every roach-free sandwich.